Yo, what's good with the YouTube? It's your boy 30 or whichever one you want to call me. Same thing, same difference. Today we back with another reaction. My bad. Yeah, it's been cold outside, so I've been having a little mucus and shit like that. But we back with another reaction video. We about to jump into another one of these the serial killer reactions. It's actually the same dude who made the one about the East St. Louis. He made another one. Well, he got a few on actually that we gonna react to about some of these serial killers. That should be crazy. But make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Once again, once I reach 500 subscribers, I will be doing a giveaway. And I ain't gonna lie, we overly locked in right now. Like, we got rid of some loose ends that we needed to get rid of. And so I can really lock in motherfuckers. Little shit that was holding me back. But make sure y'all rock with the kid. Fuck with your man. We're finna go ahead and get into this video though. I'm gonna come up with a better intro. Just take time.
Warning. The following program contains subject matter that may be disturbing to some audiences. Viewer discretion advised. You're listening to Descent to Depravity, where we investigate the darkest corners of the human psyche, one chilling story at a time.
Today, Indiana police say that 7 women found over the last few days may be victims of a serial killer. A suspect in custody has been talking to detectives, and here's Dean Reynolds.
The trail that led to at least 7 bodies began Friday night at this motel in Hammond, Indiana. Police say the suspect, 43-year-old convicted offender Darren Vann, spent time there with a 19-year-old escort he'd found on the website Backpage. She was later found by a co-worker. The escort service gave the police Vann's cell phone number, and he was located and arrested hours later at a house in nearby Gary.
He is serving life in prison for the 7 women in and around Gary, Indiana. But we have learned Vann has told police he's killed many more across the border in Illinois.
I called it my mistake. 4 or 5 in California. How many in North Carolina? 1, because I ain't staying long. Texas, I think there's 2. At least 2 in Milwaukee. And there's 3 in Minnesota. I'll say about 7 in Detroit. How many in Chicago? Chicago? That's a lot.
Darren Dion Vann was born March 21st, 1971. Not into warmth, not into stability, but into a city slowly bleeding out. Gary, Indiana was once a creature of steel and roaring industry. By the time Vann was old enough to understand the world, that creature had already begun to die. Factories shut down like organs failing. Streets grew vacant. Homes emptied and stood rotting like abandoned crypts. Silent, cold, hollow. He didn't grow up defined by one major trauma. He grew up surrounded by violence, gangs, drugs, and poverty. Shootings weren't rare. Women were exploited openly. People vanished and nobody demanded answers. In Gary, invisibility was a survival tactic. Empathy was dangerous. Being unnoticed was safer than being seen. This is how predators incubate. Not always through shock wounds, but through years of watching society treat misery as normal. By adolescence, Vann's identity was already dissolving. No one who crossed paths with him recalls him as unique. Not teachers, not neighbors, not peers. He didn't stand out. He blended into the background noise of a dying city. He became a human silhouette, a presence without dimension, someone forgettable on sight. He learned early that the easiest way to avoid consequence was to leave no impression at all. In the early 1990s, Vann entered the United States Marine Corps, theoretically the one place capable of forcing discipline, structure, and accountability over him. Instead, he was rejected by it, discharged other than honorable. Quiet administrative verdict that even the military designed to break and rebuild men wanted nothing to do with him. And when he returned to the civilian world, he returned more hollow, disconnected, and dangerous than he left it. He drifted from state to state, job to job, relationship to relationship, leaving behind almost no significant footprint anywhere. A man who could move through society like fog, always present, never remembered. Vann learned 2 core lessons before he ever killed anyone. People vanish here, and the world does not rush to find them. Institutions are not built to fix someone like him. By the time he first appears in the criminal legal record in 2004, the machinery inside him was already forged. The monster wasn't born on the day he killed. It was incubated inside the ruins of a city that had already surrendered to entropy. And soon, that quiet, camouflaged predator would step out of the shadows he'd spent decades learning to survive in. This is where the manifestation begins. As Vann entered adulthood, he attempted a version of normalcy that looked stable on paper, but was hollow in reality. He married a woman nearly 30 years older than him. It wasn't a union rooted in romance or genuine connection. It was structural convenience, a facade, a temporary shell of legitimacy he could stand inside while the rest of his identity remained vacant. Her son later spoke about how unsettling Vann was inside that home. He said Vann avoided him constantly, moving like a man who did not want to be observed, studied, or truly known. One statement from the stepson summarized the entire dynamic with precision. He was strange. He always stayed away from me. Something was off. I didn't want to be around him. This wasn't tension. This wasn't conflict. This was distance, engineered and intentional. Even inside his own marriage, Vann remained emotionally unreachable. He did not bond. He did not integrate. He existed there the same way he existed everywhere else, on the periphery, half present, using relationships as camouflage, not connection. The marriage dissolved like everything else in his life did, silently, without emotional impact, without imprint. April 6, 2004, Gary, Indiana. 536 Van Buren Street. This is the first time Darren Dion Vann leaves an official footprint law enforcement can actually measure. According to the Lake County probable cause paperwork, Vann arrived demanding a woman he believed was inside. Witness David Abram told police Vann left and then returned carrying a red gasoline can. He poured fuel and threatened to ignite the house with a lighter in his hand. Abram recalled the exact exchange. "You're going to burn my family over a woman?" Vann answered, "Give me $7,000 and you can have her."
Damn.
Police arrived to a scene that was not an argument. It was a controlled threat. Gasoline, fire leverage, a hostage-style demand, a tactic of domination. He was arrested for residential entry and intimidation, served time on a probation violation, and then disappeared back into Gary. In hindsight, this was the first recorded flare of the violence he would fully weaponize later. 2007, Austin, Texas. Another woman, another incident where Vann revealed his true colors. Court records show a 25-year-old female hooker entered Vann's apartment. She later told police he threw her down, choked her, assaulted her, and told her he could kill her.
Started killing her. This one, I guess he just going around beating on motherfuckers. But still, that shit finna lead up to it.
Wasn't impulsive chaos. This was targeted violence inside controlled space. Vann pleaded guilty to aggravated assault. He was sentenced. He served hard time. But confinement does not rehabilitate certain psychological structures. It pressurizes them. It gives them time to harden without distraction. Serial homicide research shows that some offenders take incarceration as a recalibration period, not a deterrent. He was released July 2013. After release from Texas custody, Vann came back to Lake County and registered as a sex offender, classified low risk. That designation would later become one of the most catastrophic misreads in this entire case, because the next year, the system would learn what he had actually become. How quiet predation, when unchallenged, evolves into serial homicide. Africa Hardy was 19 years old when she met Darren Dion Vann. On October 17, 2014, she arranged an appointment through Backpage, where she had been advertising under aliases such as Octavia and Ms. Youngin. She traveled to the Motel 6 located at 3840 East 179th Street in Hammond, Indiana, for the arranged meeting. Throughout the evening, she exchanged messages with her friend and business partner, Shamika Cunningham, who monitored her movements from a distance. Cunningham later explained that Hardy's communication rhythm suddenly shifted from normal messaging to short responses, and then silence. When Hardy stopped answering her phone entirely, Cunningham and a male friend drove to the motel to check on her welfare. When they entered the room, they immediately found Hardy deceased. Her body was discovered naked in the bathtub. There were red ligature-type marks visible around her neck which suggested strangulation. A torn condom wrapper was located on the bathroom floor. Investigators recovered a broken fingernail on the tile, which indicated a struggle had occurred prior to death. Detectives also noted that a pink HTC phone case had gone missing along with Hardy's personal cell phone. Surveillance video from the motel parking lot captured a dark-colored Jeep, arriving during the exact appointment time frame. A male suspect, later identified as Darren Vann, exited the vehicle and walked toward Hardy's rented motel room. Detectives conducted a reverse lookup on the phone number used to set up the appointment and traced it to a residence in the 600 block of West 49th Avenue in Gary, Indiana. A blue Jeep registered to Vann's sister was located at that residence, and surveillance confirmed that the vehicle matched the Jeep captured on video at the Motel 6. Once taken into custody and advised of his rights, Vann confessed during a recorded interview. According to the
putting his sister, family, innocent motherfuckers into this shit.
Lake County probable cause affidavit, Vann stated that he strangled Hardy first with his hands and then with a cord. He admitted that after she was dead, he placed her body into the bathtub, exited the room, and fled the scene in the blue Jeep. This admission was supported by physical evidence recovered from the motel room, phone records, clothing comparisons, condom packaging, and items located inside the Jeep, tied to the original back page appointment. The Lake County coroner later conducted a full post-mortem examination and determined that the cause of death was homicidal asphyxia by strangulation, followed by additional compression using a ligature-type object. The presence of a torn condom wrapper and signs of physical struggle supported the conclusion that Hardy resisted her attacker. Hardy's family told reporters that she had been attempting to establish independence and stability in her life. They described profound shock that her final moments occurred alone inside a motel bathroom. Her mother expressed grief that a 19-year-old girl could be murdered in a commercial establishment and remain undiscovered for a period of time before anyone intervened. This homicide was the moment law enforcement finally breached Vann's invisibility. The motel crime scene, the digital trail, the surveillance vehicle match, and his direct confession created an immediately prosecutable murder case. Within less than 48 hours of Africa Hardy's body being discovered, Darren Vann led detectives to 6 additional women.
What is freshest in your mind from there that occurred? Like the one murder just previous to the Motel 6?
I can't give you one before the Motel 6 because that'd be out of state. The one before that was somebody I knew. She owed me money, didn't pay me.
Well, obviously that would be an easy one to start with if you know her.
Well, I don't know her, nor like I know her from the streets.
Okay. You don't know her name or nickname or anything like that? If she
Casper. Her nickname on the streets was Casper. She was a prostitute.
How old would you say?
I wouldn't know how old Casper is. I would say late 20s, early 30s. Well, I could be wrong because, you know, they're on drugs. And
well, I'm just asking you to give. I mean, you also seem to be pretty intelligent, so I think you know what you're talking about.
Okay. T is young. The girl is missing. I think they say she was late 30s, early 40s. But I saw the post before. I really didn't pay no attention. I just knew the face.
Now with Casper, what she look like?
She's a Caucasian. She's Casper's about what, 200. See, I'm not good with descriptions. She's like about this size. I don't know how you would describe a girl as this size. She's real big.
Heavy set?
Yeah, heavy set. Some people say BBW. I was gonna say Karen's can't. That's why I say she's anywhere from 28.
You said long blonde hair?
Yes. I don't know if it's blonde or brown. I'm colorblind, so.
All right.
So late 20s to early 30s?
She's 28 to 32. I'm not gonna put her no older than that.
Okay.
If she is, I wouldn't think so.
Around what time would this have happened?
I'm trying to think. See, I can't be sure what time I killed Casper because I did some of those that same day.
Where'd you kill her at?
Oh, see, if I tell you that, y'all can go to the house. I killed her in Gary. All these in Gary I'm giving you.
Okay, so Casper's a prostitute in Gary?
Yes.
Okay.
She's a prostitute in Gary. She's another one.
So Casper's body's inside of an abandoned house?
Right now, yeah.
Right now?
Right now.
On what street?
I see her way on. Yeah, I'm not good street. She's off the first street on the east side off of Broadway. I want to say Connecticut. See, I always get Massachusetts and Connecticut mixed up.
So it's one
block east.
One block east.
Of Broadway.
In what 100 block?
I'm not sure. I just know you ever walk and you know how to cut through all your trails. And I know the trails is cut through. We cut through. I cut through the alley that go through another abandoned house to get to this house. Does that make sense?
Sure.
It's like a bunch of abandoned houses, right?
Off of what main street?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I was either Connecticut or Massachusetts, because I don't come off the house off of Broadway. I come through a field when I go that way.
Yeah, but would this be north of
It's
25th?
It's in all. This is in Glen Park.
In Glen Park. So
Right.
south, would it be south of Ridge Road?
Yes,
North?
it's gonna be south of Ridge.
South of Ridge.
I'm gonna give you. Let's see, one is by. You know what Dora Miller is? I think it's Dora Miller Projects. One is by Dora Miller. One is by, I want to say, 1, 2, 3 is by Georgia Street, Glen Park. One is by.
Has the one by Dory Miller been located?
No. They located a body, but it wasn't the right one. Well, it wasn't one of mine.
Okay. Where's the one at in Dory Miller?
I don't know their streets like that. You know what I'm saying?
Inside of a building?
It's inside the house.
Are most of these inside of vacants?
Yes, most of these are inside vacants.
How, and I believe you, that you kind of want to put an end to this. And,
Right, that's why I say it'd be easier just to be like, bam, if there's a house, you're going to have to move some stuff.
Would you be willing to...
You're going to have to, because the police went in one house, because they didn't move the right thing, they didn't find a body.
You're kidding.
Right.
But would you be willing to take us and, I mean, almost, I mean, I don't know what you call it, like a field trip and just show us
I'd actually
where
point the bodies off, right?
Your work products at?
I don't really call it work. I call it my mistakes.
Your rages?
Yeah, my rages. When stuff don't go right, I go looking for an out. I usually try to go to Illinois where I have my guns. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
But if I don't have a way to get there, or I'm getting help, like right now I'm watching my sister kids, so if I get upset, I can't just leave. I'm on schedule. You see what I'm saying? And that schedule compresses how I do things.
What are the things that cost you to go into a rage?
Last year, it's really, I can't work. They want 7 years, they want this. I went to get my ID, they won't give my ID. It's just so much. I'm tired.
Does it do anything for you?
What? It releases. I want to say it releases pressure. Because really, my brother tells me I'm crazy. I tell him all the time, I just want to walk in something and blow everything up.
I guess what I'm asking, how does the rage, how do you connect the rage with these people that
They're random. They're random. All it does is take the wrong person to say something, or it triggers something from my past. That's why I really can't give you Illinois, because Illinois probably has a whole lot of. They have more than Indiana, let's say that.
Do they?
They have way more than Indiana.
Where were you staying at over there?
I don't have to stay anywhere.
You just?
I get on the train, I get on the bus, and I'll be like, I know I'm losing. I try to get far away from my family when I feel myself slipping.
Do you?
Yes.
Have you ever hurt anyone in your family?
I can't answer that because that would give you another state. You see what I'm saying? But yes.
Damn. What the fuck? far?
Well, this is obviously going to be somewhat difficult because we're going to need some specific information and to be able to verify these and get you to where you're going.
Well, I gave you this one.
I don't think you're going to have any problem.
Okay.
I mean,
I think
I
it's
just want to
probably,
say these arrests, because these, I call these my mistakes because they did something that triggered my anger where I was already angry, but they really, like Casper was my friend. I didn't mean to kill her.
what led up to that?
I was already angry.
when do we go and recover her body?
I would do Casper's part because she was my friend. She was a good person.
When do we do that?
That's why I said we could take that ride. That way you know the rest I'm trying to get.
Right.
Like
You realize
that's
what we're probably
reacting
going
on
to do
straight
is
emotion.
we're going to
Kill
put you
her.
like in the belt that you're in now,
That's fine.
and we'll probably put you in some leg shackles because this is not something we do every day.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I don't think you could leg check because I'm not going to be able to get down where Casper is.
You don't think you'll be able to direct us to it?
Okay.
Right.
Well, I mean, they're pretty decent. I mean, they're not short leg shackles. I mean,
Oh,
you'll be
okay,
able to
that's fine.
And we, like I said, I'm from the South. I don't have to go fast.
I'm not going to give you any problems. I'm
Right.
trying to get it.
Yeah, you're trying to put everything behind you.
Well, that's not really behind it. These I'm giving you because they wasn't supposed
You want to
be.
clear it up.
No, these weren't supposed to be people I killed.
Mm-hmm.
These were people that had nothing to do with people hiring me to do something.
For the
Damn,
Motel
he was
6,
getting high.
was that supposed to
What the
happen?
fuck?
Or
No, she struck me. If
And
she
that
hadn't
was just-
struck, that's it. I don't like being hit.
It's a whole different ball
That's
game
not really
now. He
surprising.
said motherfuckers was hiring him to go whack shit and knock shit off. Oh man,
I know why I didn't
Right.
go off when y'all officers threw me down, because that's
He is a
really
real
one of my
hitman.
business. I don't like people striking me or pushing me.
Did you hear me just saying?
man, he was
this?
killing innocent
Right.
random
Yeah, you heard me,
motherfuckers too.
didn't you?
Right. And see, I kept.
I could tell you paid
But see,
attention.
my thing was like my niece upstairs.
The
I'm
kids
supposed to-
doing it.
Right. That's why I try to get far away, because I wasn't even supposed to come. I don't even know what made me mad. I know what made me mad. Somebody didn't pay me. I did work for them and they didn't pay me. Because they figure I'm a felon and I can't do nothing about it. That I didn't have no contract.
when did that happen?
It happened Friday morning. I went and fixed some drywall for a guy.
Where at?
I don't know. It just, I'll be on tag or Facebook and they say come and do somebody will pick me up. I go,
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
After Vann's confession, he led detectives to the location of his 6 other victims. Tiara Beatty was 28 years old, a young mother trying to stabilize her life in a city that was already rotting from abandonment, long before Darren Vann ever stepped foot inside those hollow houses. January 13th, 2014, Gary, Indiana. It was bitter cold, the kind of Midwest winter night where the air bites more than it stings, where the streetlights hum like old fluorescent prison fixtures. Tiara met up with a friend near the east side, and sometime after that moment she simply vanished. She did not come home. She did not call anyone back. She evaporated into one of Gary's thousands of dead, burnt-out, repossessed husks of concrete that nobody was watching anymore. Vann knew those structures better than anyone. He weaponized them. Beatty wasn't found for 9 months. On October 19th, 2014, after Vann was arrested in a hotel room in Hammond, he finally began pointing, address by address, street by street, house by house. Tiara Beatty's body was recovered inside the abandoned residence at 1800 East 19th Avenue, a structure that had quietly decayed through season changes while residents walked past it every day, not realizing there was a murdered woman decomposing inside. Investigators described the interior as trash-littered and debris stacked. The place felt less like a house and more like a sealed tomb Vann curated. Detectives found her body hidden in that environment, long dead, with no one having reported screams, noise, or disturbance at any point since January. Autopsy findings determined she had been strangled. She had died violently and silently. This single recovery location alone explained why nobody ever saw him coming, because he didn't need rural fields, deep woods, or rivers to make bodies disappear. He used abandoned urban ruins, and Gary had more vacant housing per square mile than almost any major city in the country. He turned urban collapse into disposal strategy. Beatty became the first of the known timeline, and the reason this city should have been terrified long before police ever learned his name. When he finally confessed, Darren Vann said something to detectives that would become the chilling thesis for everything that followed. "It's not the first time I've done this." Her murder proved he was telling the truth. Tanya Gatlin was 27, a woman whose life had become unstable in that same fractured Rust Belt orbit. But she still called. She still existed to people who loved her. Sonia Billingsley was 53, older than the others, the kind of woman hardened by life, weathered by a city that had taught her how to survive storms. Both women disappeared in early 2014. There is no definitive single moment they crossed into Vann's trajectory. The sad part is, that is exactly why they became vulnerable to him. In this city, women could vanish in silence, and no system sounded alarms. 9 months later, October 19, 2014, officers stood inside a rotted, decomposing structure at 413 East 43rd Avenue after Vann directed them there. Inside this exact building, they found 2 bodies. One was Tanya Gatlin, the other was Sonia Billingsley. Vann used this house like an archive, stacking human remains inside a dead building, as if he assumed nobody would ever question why these houses still stood, empty, for years. Autopsy findings determined Tanya Gatlin and Sonia Billingsley died from asphyxiation caused by strangulation. There were no gunshots, no knife wounds. Vann preferred control. He preferred the personal nature of manually taking oxygen from a living human being. Christine Williams was 36, a mother of 4, the kind of woman whose existence actually mattered to multiple living human beings who depended on her. Her disappearance didn't just leave a void, it ripped out infrastructure inside her family. February 2014, Gary, Indiana. Christine goes missing in a way that felt almost identical to the others. Quietly, without alarms, without the machinery of the world responding. Her world just goes silent. People who knew her described her as someone who was trying to get stability back into her life, but like many women in Gary at this time, she existed close to the margins. And when you live near the margins, predators like Darren Vann find you first. Vann took Christine into another vacant monument of Gary's industrial death, the abandoned structure at 4330 Massachusetts St. Gary. Like the other houses in this case, it was a structure that had stopped being a home years before he ever opened that door with her. There were no witnesses, no neighbors listening, no functioning lights, no cameras, nothing recording time or movement. Inside that dead house, Christine Williams is murdered by strangulation. Intimate, controlled, deliberate, and again, silent. Her body stayed inside that tomb-like environment for months, while her children continued living, while people still expected her to maybe randomly show up again, while temperatures shifted from winter to spring to summer, while fireworks for the 4th of July crackled overhead. Her body was decomposing in the dark. Authorities would not find Christine until October 19, 2014. Inside 43330 Massachusetts Street, investigators found decomposition stages consistent with long-term concealment. Her autopsy confirmed death by asphyxiation due to strangulation, consistent with the pattern an M.O. Vann already admitted to. Tracy Martin was 41. She had a face people remembered. A woman who still had ties, still had community recognition, and her sudden absence actually caused confusion in those around her. June 26, 2014, Gary, Indiana. Tracy Martin was reported missing. For months, nothing surfaced, no body, no lead, and the city of Gary just absorbed another disappearance the same way it absorbed all the others, quietly. Darren Vann lured Tracy into another one of those urban carcasses he used as mausoleums. This time the location was 2200 Massachusetts Street. Another derelict shell of a home still standing because demolition budgets in Gary ran slower than the rate of structural collapse. Inside those walls, Tracy Martin died the same way his others died. And the silence of that method is what makes it horrifying. No gunshot echo, no knife metal impact, nothing that travels beyond the drywall. You can kill someone in complete silence and the outside world hears nothing. Strangulation is the predator's perfect homicide inside a dead city. The autopsy listed asphyxiation due to strangulation, consistent with every single victim he was connected to. Vann didn't kill for spectacle. He killed for psychological power. His hands, his control, his dominance, his ability to decide who took another breath. Anith Jones was 35, the kind of woman whose name still echoed in text threads, in calls, in worried conversations, because when she vanished, people noticed instantly something was wrong. October 8, 2014, Gary, Indiana. Anitra Jones disappears only 9 days before the homicide that would finally expose Darren Dion Vann permanently. She was last seen in Hammond, and like the others, she walked into his orbit without realizing she was walking into a predator who already believed he was unstoppable. He had gone an entire year killing women inside abandoned architecture, and nobody had intervened. Nobody had even identified him as a potential threat. After she vanished, her family reported her missing immediately. They didn't delay. They didn't assume she ran. They knew, but still, she stayed missing. Meanwhile, Vann transported her into another one of his chosen disposal structures, another rotted building in Gary, the kind of house where insulation hung like diseased webs. In that basement, under that rotting wooden frame, he strangled Anitra Jones. Reports stated Vann placed her body inside a trash can in the basement, and then covered her with objects, including tires and teddy bears. The autopsy confirmed asphyxia due to strangulation. Jones was one of his most recent victims. And the timing matters. This shows escalation right before Hardy. He was killing much closer together. Compression of kill frequency is often what precedes capture in serial predator behavior. And that is exactly what happened here. Had Hardy not been killed in Hammond, had that motel not had cameras, had that homicide not triggered a rapid digital trace, Vann may have continued this kill acceleration cycle uninterrupted. Jones was the proof that he had just begun tightening intervals. Anitra Jones spent her final living hours not in chaos, but inside a predator's chosen domain. Inside the dead industrial architecture of Gary. Inside a place where no one could hear her die. When Darren Dion Vann was finally locked behind steel and scheduled court calendars rather than abandoned houses, the case no longer lived in shadows. It had to survive inside rules, statutes, bargaining leverage, and death penalty architecture. Prosecutors had one advantage most serial homicide trials never begin with. He led them to the bodies himself. He gave structure to the timeline. He gave geographic corroboration. He gave method continuity. Indiana prosecutors understood instantly that this case was not going to trial for narrative. It was going to trial for sentencing outcome. Vann was charged with multiple homicides. The state openly positioned capital eligibility. In Indiana, that wasn't idle threat. It was leverage. Prosecutors used it exactly the way the system is designed to use it, to collapse trial resistance. His attorneys knew they were not arguing innocence. They were arguing for life over execution. And as plea negotiations advanced, the detectives, prosecutors, and state officials understood one thing. Live incarceration guaranteed that all confirmed victims remained legally complete. Death penalty litigation, if appealed for decades, risked slow erosion of narrative clarity and potential reversals.
When this shit first came on, if y'all heard how many people he said he killed, man, they need to give his ass.
Vann entered a plea agreement, guilty, avoiding the death penalty. The judge read the sentence not like a performance, but like a burial rite made of statute. He was sentenced to multiple life sentences without parole. Darren Dion Vann, whose earliest crimes were protected by invisibility, ended his judicial trajectory not as a phantom moving through abandoned houses, but as an inmate locked in a system that finally saw him. He will never walk free again. The silence that once protected him now cages him, forever.
Yeah, that's crazy. But sure, that's the end of that one, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe for more reaction videos. And once again, once I reach 500 subscribers, I will be doing a giveaway. Make sure y'all stay tuned in for that. Make sure y'all follow. I mean, make sure y'all sub up, you know. We're gonna grow this community together.